Lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.
Now, the book club choice for this month is the international bestseller and Man Booker-nominated Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, which follows the story of 6 interlocking lives in a narrative that circles the globe and reaches from the 19th century to a post-apocalyptic future. We recently caught up with the Lighthouse and Chapter Cinema book club to see what their thoughts on the book were. Here's how they got on.
The Lighthouse and Chapter Cinema Book Club is, the idea is that you get a perspective on the book and the film. You read a classic book, you see the classic film of the book or a new film of the book, and afterwards you get a chance to talk about the various differences between film as a craft, books as a craft, and how the two compare to each other. We've been doing the book club with between Chapters and Lighthouse Cinema for about 6 months now, and it's going really well.
We don't have members officially, so we just ask people to come down every month. We have announced our season, so we just ask the people read the book and just come down, buy a ticket, come down.
Cloud Atlas is one of the big films of the moment. It's a classic modern novel. We were really excited to see how the book would compare to the film. And David Mitchell puts in a virtuoso performance. He's pulling together 6 different genres in one novel. It's brilliantly done, and the challenge was to see if that would translate into film.
Well, I thought the book was quite an ambitious text, obviously. A little bit challenging, but I guess that was the point that David Mitchell was trying to achieve with it. Quite an ambitious undertaking to be adapted into a film, but the book, certain sections I found more enjoyable than others. The styles were occasionally jarring, but it was a rewarding book overall. I think everyone who reads the book will come away having a favourite segment of it, because there's 6 unrelated time sections, basically, some of which reoccur and one of which doesn't.
Well, before I'd read the book, I'd kind of been told a little bit about the structure, and basically what the person who was telling me about said, well, just, the first chapter, just keep going after that and, you'll get into it a bit more. So I kind of started with that, not really expecting a lot, and as things went on, I did enjoy it. But I suppose as soon as I was starting to get into one story, the next story comes along. So that's something you definitely don't get in the film, because the stories are all taking place simultaneously.
I loved the first section in particular. I don't know why, but it just kind of grabbed me from the very first page. And it's a diary written by a man travelling from the Pacific Islands to San Francisco in 1849, and it just really had a very interesting discussion on race and tribalism, and which kind of then continues throughout the rest of the book.
I loved it. I think it's a beautiful example of what you can do with the English language and how you can manipulate the English language. I think it's really clever. Reading it a second time, I noticed all sorts of things that tied together the stories that I didn't notice the first time, and the movie actually did a really good job of highlighting some of those things, but it's been a real pleasure to read it a second time.
It kind of presents such an interesting kind of portrait of humanity, if you know what I mean, in that the mistakes that people make are repeated, and love kind of endures, and that's kind of an idea you get throughout all of the different stories.
I think having different actors reprise roles and play different characters works well some of the time, and some of the time not necessarily. Some of them were completely seamless. You wouldn't realise, and it worked. In that case, it worked very well.
Having not read the book and watching the film, what struck me was that I think I felt a really nice, rounded idea of what the central themes of the book were. So, after having come out of the film, which is, it's quite long, it's quite dense, it's deep, there's a lot to kind of meditate on, I kind of felt like, wow, I got a sense of what that book was trying to do.
Like the sets and the costume and all of the effects, there's a lot of effects that you feel like it's probably the budget of 3 or 4 films, really, and I've heard that it took a long time to make, and that there was 2 crews working simultaneously, and you do get that sense is that it's much bigger. It's
a very beautiful looking film. It's directed wonderfully. Some great sections in it, and it skips between genres.
Well, I think I slightly preferred the film, which is unusual for me, because usually, I'd read the book first, and then saw the film. So usually I like whichever I come to first, best. But actually, after I'd read the book, it's like I enjoyed it, but I was kind of thinking, I don't really see the film that they're going to make here. And then when you see the film and the story's the same, but the structure is quite different, and I definitely preferred that.
I think that the film did a really good job of cleaning up the book in some ways, because the book has so many subplots and subsections that are a real treat if you like the story. But it is such a convoluted idea to begin with that to include them in the film would have, people would have come out with their heads spinning. So I think that they cut the right things. I do really recommend reading the book for anyone who likes the film for that reason alone, because it's a different experience, but definitely worthwhile.
I have to say, just speaking personally, it is the most difficult book I've had to read for our book club. Challenging is one way of putting it. Now, if you would like to be in with the chance of winning a BlackBerry Playbook, then what you do is you send us your 50-word review of Cloud Atlas, and our book club choice for this month, obviously Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. You need to get it into us by Friday the 22nd, which is next Friday. Also, as a special treat this month, the lucky winner will also get a pair of tickets to see the Saturdays in the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on the 28th of March. Reviews should be emailed to irelandm@tv3.ie or sent by post to Bord Gáis Energy Book Club, TV3, Westgate Business Park, Ballymount, Dublin 24. You can also enter through the website, and that address is tv3.ie/book club.
Lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.